It is that time again for the word of the day, Wednesday. Come on, somebody. Super excited to be here with you guys. Just kind of reading through, got a couple different devotions. And man, if you don't have the YouVersion Bible app, you seriously need to get it. It will change your life. They have plans specific for exactly what you're going through. You can read the Bible in a year. You can read the New Testament in 30 days. It's the YouVersion Bible app by lifechurch.tv. Super awesome. So in one of my plans, came across this verse in 2 Corinthians. All right. Starting off in chapter 1, verse 3. And it says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort." In the NLT, it says, God, the source of all comfort, right? And I feel like I just want to pause right there. And man, if you're going through a hard time, you really have to check the source of where you're getting your comfort from. Not every single source is a good source. You may be, turning to alcohol or, drugs or, sex or whatever the case may be. And God is the source of all comfort. God is the source of true comfort. And so if you're going through a hard time, you have to turn to the one who made you. Okay. So picking it back up in verse 4, it says, "Who comforts us in all our affliction, in all of our trials, and all of our hardships." All right. So that, and I love that little fulcrum right there, that so that. Whenever you see a so that in the Bible, you really pay attention to it, because it shows purpose. It shows purpose for whatever came before the so. And in this, verse, it talks about pain. It talks about needing to be comforted. It talks about affliction. It talks about trials. And if you can find a purpose in your trial, if you can find a purpose in your pain, man, that's like everybody's looking for that, right? Like, why did this happen to me? And so here's the so that. Here's the purpose for your pain, right? So that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. That's powerful, right? The purpose is so that when somebody may be going through something that is similar to what you're going through right now, or it could be any affliction, right? Because there is key things that you can do when you are facing a trial. And when you can find those, when you can look to God to be your source of comfort, when you can get encouraging people, man, this is super important, because not every voice that's speaking into your pain and your suffering is the right voice. And so you need to get the right people speaking into your situation, the people that hear from God, right? Everybody wants to, be Dr. Phil, but Dr. Phil is not Jesus. And so, man, you need to get people that hear from God, that can speak, and help you get through what you're going through, right? And, obviously, this story, reminds me of the story of Joseph, right? And if you don't know the story of Joseph, man, check it out. It starts in Genesis 37, ends in Genesis about 50. It's like 20 chapters of pure awesomeness. Try to give you the Cliff Note version, but basically Joseph was favored and his brothers hated that. And so they, beat him up, threw him in a pit and sold him to slave traders. And, after that, he went through trial after trial after trial, ended up in prison. But ultimately he had a promise from God, right? And you have to go through that process, similar to what we're learning in The Obstacle at Remedy Life Church. Seriously phenomenal series. You got to check it out on our app or on Facebook. It'll change your life. And his ultimate destination, he ended up in the palace and was second in command to Pharaoh and literally helped Egypt get out of the worst famine that has ever happened, right? And at the end, he got a chance to confront his brothers, and he said, what you intended for evil, God turned around for my good, right? And that's really what God does. And, I posted something earlier that says, in God's hands, intended evil will turn to eventual good. Ask Joseph, right? And here's the thing, his journey started off in the pit. And the one thing about a pit is it forces you to do something. So you may be in a pit right now, a pit in your finances, a pit in your marriage, a pit in fill in the blank. Here's what being in the pit forces you to do. It forces you to look up. I'll let that settle. It forces you to look up. To look up to hope. To look up to God who can bring you out of the pit. To look up to people who can help lift your arms. Being in the pit forces you to look up. And so I want to encourage you guys with that. Encourage you with this verse. There's a purpose in your pain. There's a purpose in your trial. It's so that God can use you to bring comfort to other people. So I know it may be hard. Don't give up. Press through. Fight today. Quit tomorrow. If you say that every single day, then you will never quit. And that's all I have for today. I want to encourage you guys. Man, a lot of, just my inspiration and everything has been coming out of this series.